Hey, what's going down, everybody? It's your boy, Mr. Solo Fecker, shouting for the RnB Talk Show. If you're not aware, I'm not interviewing nobody tonight, but I'm talking about, some interesting topics I need to talk about tonight. I want to say rest in peace to, R&B legends, Peabo Bryson, Fossil Sylvers, and Ronald LaPread for the Commodores. Man, we lost three great legends, what I'm saying? And a couple days apart. Plus, there was another artist I forgot to even mention, said R.I.P, rest in peace, said to him. Man, I tell you, one thing about, as a, when people are born on this earth, to be great, say to become something, it's about having a great everlasting mark, on this earth and everything, uh, man, whenever there's a death, that happens, I always think about the legacy, they built, what I'm saying? I always think about, the last impression they had on the fans, what I'm saying? You got some diehard fans that I'll see the comments, they'd be like, oh man, this is my favorite song, that's my favorite. And they never talk about, like the popular song. They talk about the B-sides or, well, so-so wrote this or so-so some background to this, a lot of, great, stuff they be doing in between. Hey, what's going on, Katina Ann? Say big shouts to it. Make sure you guys subscribe to our YouTube page, Very Dope, saying podcaster and an artist, saying a businesswoman. I can mention that for a fact. But I want to start off with Peabo Bryson. This for him shocked me the most. I didn't even, said see the coming. When I first heard that, he had a stroke, let me rewind that. The first time he had it was a bowel heart attack was back in 2019. And I said, well, he been working since, since he was like in his 20s, what I'm saying? I don't think he really had a time or day off or anything like that, But fast forward up, just that he took a break for a little bit. Then the pandemic came through, that, and I hate to say it, kind of gave him enough time to rest and bounce back, saying do what he normally does, because he was doing like 30, 40 cities, per year, so that's damn good, especially for somebody like his, status as an icon and everything. But when I first heard that he had a stroke, I was shocked about that. And the first was on mine, I was like, you know what? For him to be a powerhouse voice, I was like, I don't know if he'd be able to bounce back, as far as being a singer, because like Luther Vandross went through that, it took his voice straight out. Then next thing you know, he died a couple months later. And then when I first heard about that, I was like, man, this right here would kill Peabo Bryson if he lost his voice. And it's one thing, be around his family, cherishing, all the moments. And plus, if I'm mistaken, he has some shows coming up. He's supposed to go to Virginia and, other places in between and stuff. But so when I got a call from a news reporter, though they mentioned, was telling me that he passed away and stuff, and I was like, oh man. I said, man, this is very, very upsetting and stuff, because one thing about strokes, 1 or 2% of the time, people bounce back, and they be back to what they normally do. You got some folks, it's hard for them to recover, man, because those strokes definitely no joke, And I say this to all the black men and black women out there, you got to take care of yourselves. You got to take care of yourselves, Because sometimes I get, a lot of stuff, you got bills on your mind, you got, a lot of poor stuff on your mind and stuff, and I get it, but take time to get some rest. Make sure you guys eat right because tomorrow's not promising, man. We are getting up out of here quicker before we get a chance to say, thank you for all the prayers to everybody, what I'm saying? But as far as Peabo Bryson, I'm gonna tell you straight up, he has nothing to prove at all, And if I'm mistaken, he was working on a new album called Grace that was supposed to be out sometime this year. I'm pretty sure it's going to be out. I don't know if the album was completely finished or was halfway finished though, but we'll find out. What I'm saying, once his team made the announcement, because he had put an album out in 8 years. His last album which was under Jimmy Jack Terry Lewis record label called Stand for Love, and that was a great album, saying, scored 2 top 5, adult R&B hits, saying, and pretty much let people know that, hey, this brother still make, great music and stuff, But when I've, saying, but for him, man, I was like, dang, man, I feel sorry for his son. He got an 8-year-old son. And I was like, it's sad. I feel sorry for him though, because, you know, he's gonna miss out on a lot. Especially though when he graduates from elementary to middle school to high school to college. And the only memories he do have is like the whole videos they made together, stuff they put on YouTube and everything and stuff. And I just really shook my head on that one. The prayers to his wife, prayers to his other kids from a different, relationship and everything. People, man, wow, man, I was just lost for words. But I don't think, what's so funny too, I just realized I was shocked that Peabo Bryson never had a Star Walk of Fame. Because here's a guy that won 2, Emmy Awards, 2 Oscar Awards, and also 2 Grammy Awards, and a couple albums, a couple platinum and gold albums. And you would think a brother like that and his stats would get, in a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, get a Star Walk of Fame, and it's funny how BT never paid homage to him. So, I'm shocked about that, but, we'll see, saying watch this, Hollywood Walk of Fame, they're going to do a Star Walk of Fame on him. You know how that goes and stuff, But that brother definitely should have got his flowers properly when he was, still on this earth. You know what I'm saying? And I'll tell you, black people though, we lucky to make it to 70. You know what I'm saying? A lot of us be up out of here between we 50 and 60 years old. And he made it for 75 years of his life, 75 30s, man. The first time I heard of Peabo Bryson, and see, I was born in the early 80s, was back in 1989. He did a song called Show and Tell. And then after that, I started becoming a fan of him when he did Beauty and the Beast. I was a fan of the movie, did A Whole New World. Then that's when I started getting to his whole catalog. So Can't Stop in the Rain, that really made me a fan of him right away. You know what I'm saying? So since then, I've been a fan nonstop. He followed me on Instagram. Yeah, true story, and big shouts to V's Vintage. She was trying to get everything set up, as far as like me interviewing him and everything. But for some reason, it's like everything that she tried, man, it's like it never came through, said I wish that would have happened, because I never would have played back that interview and everything just to interview the brother. But it just, man, just that we didn't get a communication from his team. And no disrespect to his team, I wish that his team could have reached out and, made that happen. With these PRs and managers, man, I swear it's like day and night. It's like the blinker lights on in the car, ain't no mechanic to fix it. You know what I'm saying? Straight up. But R.I.P. to the GOAT, Peabo Bryson, brother. Job well done, 75 years, your career, of your life, you definitely made a big mark. Prayers to his immediate family, prayers to his kids and his wife. Man, Foster Sylvers, man. Another one. Like they always say in the song, man, I was caught off guard. But what, though? The first time I heard about him having health issues back in 2024. And I remember he wrote on Facebook, he said, to all my fans, can you guys pray for me? And everybody was sending their prayers and everything. And it seemed like his condition got worse, last year up to this point. So he died of colon cancer, and that's one thing I can say this as a black man. We really got to watch how we eat stuff, as well as stuff we drink, and I say this too, to eat it, man, and that goes to women too, you got to chill out with the smoking. You got to chill out with the drinking, man, because that's really all that chemicals is really taking us out left and right, man. Saying straight up. So, and I pray, that his family do have healing, at this moment, and I tell you, man, and I wish that we could have got more albums from Foster Sylvers, you know what I'm saying? Because he was just making a comeback about like 9 years ago. But I don't think he was really focused on like new music. He was focused on just like doing shows and stuff like that. He did around California and everything else. And I want to say this too. Big shouts to his daughter, Erin Sylvers. I really appreciate you, Queen, for acknowledging me. Saying leaving a positive post on your dad and stuff. I don't know that's his only child, saying, but I want to say, thank you for, acknowledging me, because a lot of times, you never know what headspace the people are and everything, because anybody who has followed me, I don't sit here and be like other journalists, like they'll post like half stuff about them as positive. They don't want to bring up some negative stuff to add on with it. And we all know that Simmons went through a lot of drama. We know that Foster's had a personal issue. But my thing like is I can't see myself as a black man talk about what went down with him back in 1994. You know what I'm saying? For one, that's between him and his God. So I would never talk about that because for one, that's a touchy subject. Say he overcame it, say he got close with God and, he did fine from that point, until he transitioned and everything, what I'm saying? But yeah, so as far as Foster Sylvers, I wish him and his siblings, I wish that days would have had went right for them, man. Because I'm gonna tell you, when I was watching the unsung story, I said, one thing that the family messed up was they should have got rid of the manager. They should have had a better manager that they could, they could put trust in to the time to find somebody. And two, they should have been on a better label because I feel like the Sylvers had more legs to put out more albums. You know what I'm saying? And it's sad that, record companies and management were trying to divide the family. And I'm glad that the family all came together and realized that, this industry can chew you up and spit you out, and that's the real truth on that. So I'm glad that all the family members, saying still here doing good and stuff. I would love to see all the Silver members, make a, do like a 10 city, 15 city tour, saying because they got hits for days, man. You know what I'm saying? And personally, they are the second coming right behind the Jackson Five. You know what I'm saying? And before I say anything, what's going on, Miss Brooke and Love Podcast? What's going on, Queen? How you doing? Hey, Steinmeier, what's going on, Queen? How you doing? Make sure I give y'all a shout out and everything and stuff. I know some people, they don't even do that to save their lives. But anyway, yeah, so when I watched their song, man, they definitely went through a whole lot. I mean, they lost a younger brother. He had some type of illness. He died at 18 years old. That was shocking. And then, one of the sisters, she was on drugs and, everything that goes on. And, it's crazy, though. It seems like every time there's a all-black African-American group that starts out, you always hear some weird stories that's going on. Either it's true or false. You know what I'm saying? All these dynamic stories about the individual, you know what I'm saying? Either a drug habit, health issues, or somebody did this, somebody did that. It's like a generational curse that happens to a lot of people, what I'm saying, every time and stuff, and man, that's really shocking, but I'm shocked that none of these major platforms have given the Sylvers a Lifetime Achievement Award. I'm shocked that none of these platforms have did, like a dedication performance or something, for them. It seemed like, that group was left behind. Well, a lot of times, if you not follow through in the system, these platforms will blacklist you. Because you think about it. Half of these artists you've been a fan of, and you're like, man, what's going on? How come they're not getting enough attention like they used to? Because the thing is, if you not follow through what they want you to do, they will blacklist you. It's like being blackballed. What I'm saying? It's like a person who's a felon and they try to get a job, not only to take care of themselves, but also take care of the kids, keep from going to jail. They keep on getting denied, and then the word gets out. And then the promoters, they're very funny when it comes to paying people and stuff. So, yeah, it's a crazy world that we live in, and stuff. But I'm going to tell you something funny. Not to be, this ain't no jokes, though, like that. When I saw a picture of Foster Sylvers, he was already bald headed. He had a gray goatee. I said, to me, our foster kind of like Keenan Wayans in the face. He does. You know what I'm saying? When I first saw the picture, I thought that was Keenan Wayans. Take a picture with some white guy, holding a record on Foster Sylvers. And I looked again. I said, "No, it's not." I said, "No, it's not Keenan." I was like, "Wow, this Foster Sylvers." I said, "Wow." And it's like he's, was doing, say he's doing good. But yeah, he reminded me of so much. Keenan Wayans, man. You know what I'm saying? They all say he got a twin out there, somewhere and stuff. But as far as the other brother that passed away, Ronald LaPread, for those who don't know, he was the original co-founder of the Commodores. And everybody know the Commodores, scored so many hits, Brick House, Three Times a Lady, Zoom, and, the rest is history. So when Lionel Richie left in the Commodores, like around 81, around that time, he stuck with the Commodores until 1986, and he left them, and he moved out of California, moved to Zuckerland, New Zealand. So he been in New Zealand for 40 years of his life and stuff, and he has made, he has done business there and has really established, a lot of great things in that city and stuff, and I'm shocked he never moved back to America, what I'm saying? He was talking about how California was and everything. He decided to move to a different country, and stuff. And I would say this to me personally, I cannot really see myself move to a different country. I'm like, yes, I moved to a different state, but ain't like the U.S. soil, man. And the thing is, it has to be in you to want to even go there. Saying even want to travel to a different place and everything, stuff. But he was just now making himself being noticed. I wouldn't say comeback, but as far as like being seen on social media, because he created an Instagram page and he was talking about the history stories of the Commodores, the Motown, and the backstage, some events that was going on back then and stuff, And it is crazy, when I first heard about it, I said, nah, man, that can't be true. People just be saying stuff to be making up deaths and everything. And then when I found out he passed away, I was like, wow. I don't know what he died of. I'm thinking it's an illness or whatever, though, but man, another legend gone, man. You know what I'm saying? And there's so many people that died a little bit after him and everything, because sometimes it's kind of hard to keep up with the news and what's going on around the world, and it's crazy. I thought to myself, I said, hey, they all died a couple of days before Black Music Month came around the picture and stuff, But yeah, they all made their mark. But I would say this too to anybody, it's crazy how I'm in my 40s and there are people who are even 20 years, 30 years older than me. And I'm not speaking just to everyone, but just like there are a handful of people that personally, even I know personally, even though it's sad that when people spend their whole lives, worry about what other people think about them, they never really focus on them, because that's why I say that mental illness runs and pretty much destroys every Black household. You know what I'm saying? Like, prime example, I remember I said this a long time ago. I said, self-hate, and health, bad health started when slavery was over with. Like, prime example, like if a mother had 5 kids, 2 kids came out light-skinned, the other 3 came out dark-skinned, and here it is, all the kids are treated fair. Sometimes, not all the time. Talking about, why you so dark? You didn't get that from me. You must got it from your ugly daddy or your ugly mammy. They'll say stuff like that, to destroy a person's mind frame. You know what I'm saying? That's when mental abuse happens, It leads to drugs, leads to violence, leads to, a little bit of everything, you know what I'm saying? So that's why I say that we need to take time to love each other, because understand this, so our skin tone, who we are as people, is a shell. This is a shell. We are Black through and through. You know what I'm saying? That's a problem with a lot of folks. Like my mom was brown skinned. My dad's light skinned. So yeah, so I'm Black. I know I'm yellow, but at the same time, say I'm a Black man. I can't see myself waking up talking about, I'm light skinned, so I gotta do some light skinned stuff. Come on, man. That's stupid, man. You know what I'm saying? the Sylvers music and Fossil Sylvers, Peabo Bryson, and the Commodores, their music was all about unity. It was all about peace and love. But unfortunately, the black community not all has definitely forget about that because you see what's going on in the world today right now. The orange man running rapid, got people's heads all brainwashed, say got people delusional. Not everybody, but just a handful of folks, man. You know what I'm saying? Is that, it's sad that, like we got to do better, that's the real truth, what I'm saying? I stress that to anybody. But as far as the music, man, I'm gonna tell you, anybody that grew up in the 70s, even that was born after, or, so you got people like Earth, Wind and Fire, you got the OJs, you got the Jacksons, you got Temptations and stuff. Their music was all about love. It was all about peace, what I'm saying? It was all about togetherness. And it's sad that whenever you turn on the radio, there are certain stations they'll play music. It's sad that you see R&B singers cursing at records, talking about I don't give a F, to hell with this dude, Dale this broadsheet, but a bitch. Come on, man. It was never about that. You know what I'm saying? Like you never see people call a woman the B word. You never see, the Commodores put the woman down. Nah, you know what I'm saying? One thing it will do is embrace a black woman, talk about how fine and good looking she is, you know what I'm saying? And say things in a positive way. But it's sad though, because you got some adults that's born like, prime example, I say like negativity start coming through for music when NWA start coming in, you know what I'm saying? And people that was born like in the 70s, not all, they all adopted that. And that's how each generation build up. Not saying that music was raunchy before that. Of course, you had Billy Jackson. That's a whole different conversation. But you had music that pretty much built to that point, you know what I'm saying? Just to see, how, just see that where music is today, you know what I'm saying? That's why the white man fed off of like, okay, some black people doing this, we can create dollars. Let's get rid of all these love stories and let's focus on the negativity, you know what I'm saying? It's sad, because think about it, uh, Peabo Bryson, Glenn Jones, Luther Vandross, Freddie Jackson, so many fellas, Alexander O'Neal, they always talk about how to love a woman, how to treat a woman, how to adore that woman, make a woman feel good. That's what the message that these brothers was trying to send and stuff, we will never get that. Now, I would say this, though, you do got some younger brothers out there that bring the essence of what R&B was and what's supposed to be today versus whatever little bull crap, people be talking about, you know what I'm saying? It's like whenever you play Cyrus XL and you hear Ayla Verse sing, let me make love to you. That'll make any woman with a common sense make her feel good. You know what I'm saying? Think about that moment in time where she was like in love, make her feel good with the point where she just wanna just like, man, it's like, oh my God, like why can't we have you like music like this today? Yeah, so that's the real truth on that. But I definitely, miss that. But I do want to say this though. I mean, for me as a host, I done interviewed over 500 and about 502 guests on my show. Coming up, I got the Four MDs, I got Shirley Jones, and I'm working on Get the System coming through. And I got Bounce J, coming through on the RnB Talk Show. Make sure you guys stay, and tuned in. I want to hear about, I missed the interview. Hey, I ain't got nothing to do with that, man. It ain't my problem, It ain't my fault. Like if I post a flyer out there, make you guys keep it locked in. But I get it, 'cause a lot of times certain stuff can catch your attention and you try to focus on what you really want to see. And I totally get it. Sometimes people got families and grandkids and stuff, and a lot of stuff happens, what I'm saying? That's the real truth. My thing like this, I'm a type of person, if I watch some show, listen, if your house ain't on fire, don't ask what I'm doing. I'll call you later. I'm trying to check something out real quick. Straight up. But yeah, one of the reasons I want to make this episode because I thought to myself, I said, let's throw on the podcast is talking about, these three gentlemen, say they made an everlasting impact on this earth, what I'm saying? Peabo Bryson, man, I mean, for him to be an R&B legend, But here's a guy, he could do pop music, he could do soft rock, he could do, Quiet Storm, he could do New Jack Swing. I mean, the brother had a broad type of voice. Plus, he had a type of voice. If you put Peabo in a musical play, oh man, he would kill it, man. And plus, every December, he was doing that Christmas musical, music with Jody Wally. They was doing that every year, singing to the kids and, saying little stuff like that. I thought that was pretty dope, They I think it was like in New York or something like it, whatever they was do the performance in I think it was like it maybe California, one or two though, but that was very popular. They did that like every so other year, little things like that. But like I said, we definitely gotta start really giving our legendary flowers, man. You know what I'm saying? Fossil Sylvers, I felt like he never was appreciated. And it's sad though, when somebody dies, all of a sudden like the streams start going up. All of a sudden, people start wanting to buy the CDs and the vinyls and stuff. Come on, man. Like, I hate when folks do that, man. Like, if you claim like you like this artist, man, stop bragging on them, man. Don't wait till they up out of here. Like, oh yeah, like, let me go to the record store. Let me go ahead and get their vinyls. Nigga, your black ass should have got there when it was alive, man. Come on, man. You know what I'm saying? That's why I say, like, the UK fans out there, all of them embrace their music. They will give the artist their flowers while they're here. They're not gonna wait till they're gone just to embrace them. Now, I will say this though, you do got a handful of fans here do give the artist their flowers. They definitely do. You know what I'm saying? Big shouts to those out there that really does. But the rest of but that's why I say United States, it sucks, man. It really does, man. We really gotta do better than that. But like I said, I try my best to get Peabo Bryson on here, man. It just didn't work out, man. It just did, man. I don't know what's up with his PR or his manager, though, but they could have done better, you know what I'm saying? But, hey, sometimes with PRs and managers, they're all about their dollar. They don't care about putting artists on a platform like mine, so which is sad. That's not a diss, but it's the honest God truth, But I wish I would have had interviewed the Sylvers, but I know what happened down the road and stuff, so I've been looking forward to that, you know what I'm saying? And then also too, as far as Ronald LaPread, legendary for the Commodores, I wish that we could have had a reunion of Commodores, just all the original members, man. You know what I'm saying? Including a lot of Richie, in the mix and stuff. That would have been awesome. I remember like 20 years ago or 21 years ago, they was gonna do a Commodores reunion. I don't know what happened though, but I wish that would have made that happen. That would have been, outstanding and stuff, So, but prayers a lot of Richie. I can imagine what's the thoughts in his head right now, losing his former bandmate and everything and stuff. And I want to say this too. There was a podcast that Ronald was on, and I can't think of the podcast name. It was a white guy that was hosting it. It was talking about Lionel Richie. And he said, no offense, but he was like, when he was with y'all, man, the music was grooving because he was co-writing a lot of stuff. He said, I felt like his music as solo artist was not that good as the Commodores. Like, come on, man, why would you say that, man? Say you take a shot at Lionel, man. Like, that's fake, man. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's a bunch of baloney. And, Ron, he was like, yeah, I hear you, man. But he didn't want to agree to it, but he was hearing what he was saying, you know what I'm saying? So to me, that was a cool, because regardless of if they had differences or not, man, that, you don't say nothing about that. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, man, people that's what about being a host. You really got to watch what you say, man. You know what I'm saying? You really got to watch what you say. That's a real truth and stuff. You know what I'm saying? But, yeah, this Black Music Month, I told the publicist, that I want to get some R&B legends on the show. No offense to having new artists. I felt like, in order for me to interview them, I read it for me in a different month. And two, they got to have a bulk of multiple albums. You know what I'm saying? That became a success, #1 hits and everything. Then, we could definitely do on Black Music Month. You know what I'm saying? So this is the first time I can say that we got some legends that's coming to this building, you know what I'm saying? Inside this RnB Talk Show. So I can't wait, you know what I'm saying? So as far as the dates, so if anybody got a pen or a pencil, you can write this down. Bounce J's coming on RnB Talk Show this Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also, Tuesday, I got 4 CMDs, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as June the 9th. And June the 7th, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is Bounce J. June the 9th is 4 CMDs, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And what else? So working on, and Shirley Jones, she would be on the 11th, Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So be on the lookout for that. I will post a flyer and everything and stuff. I can't wait to talk about the whole history of it. And let me tell you something, too. For me, I'm blessed. I can't speak for, a lot of people who does podcasting because some folks, I don't think they fully get it, It's a blessing from God, when you have legends on your show and, you get a chance to know their history. For me, I've interviewed over 502 guests, on my show, and I'm blessed, man. I don't regret nothing. That's the honest God truth. For me, I done interviewed Michael Cooper for Confunction. I done interviewed After 7. I done interviewed so many people, on my show over the last 7 years, and there'll be more pioneers on the way. So for me, it's a blessing, When I interviewed the Whispers in 2023, I was shocked I even got that. And big shouts to that team that reached out to me, you know what I'm saying? Because they did have a publicist, although they're still working with the lady or not. And it's funny how, you are a professional like me, you know what I'm saying? You would think that, okay, they would hit you up or you try to reach out to them or whatever, you know what I'm saying? But God knows what his time, knows what it ain't, you know what I'm saying? So make a long story short, when they asked me, hey, we'd love to be on your show and stuff like that. So when I interviewed them, oh man, I had a blast, But then when I did last year, when I found out Walter Scott died, I was like, oh man, this is like mind blowing, man. Walter Scott, and I'm glad the interview happened back then 2 years prior, man. You know what I'm saying? So prayers to the Scott family, you know what I'm saying? That are just Wallace and another brother, I can't think of his name, saying 2 members left, man. Yeah, man, it's crazy. Then in between that, I interviewed, Alexis Starr, then Wayne Lewis. It's crazy, because I interviewed him on June the 6th of 2014. He died June the 5th, 2025. It's crazy a year later, you know what I'm saying? 2024 and then 2025 year later, man. It's like mind blowing, man. You know what I'm saying? If you would tell me that was his last interview that I did with him, I would never believe it, man. You know what I'm saying? And at the time I was still doing interviews on Instagram and everything. And then he had a hard time, trying to turn the camera and everything, you know what I'm saying? All thing I saw was like a little black screen drop, and it was something else in the background and everything, But yeah, man, saying big prayers to, the Lewis family and his fiance as well. Man, it's just tough, man, just to that to happen, But like I said, for me, me as a host, I enjoy every moment I bring a guest on. Because for me, it's like, I'm not worried about what I'm going to say. I want to focus on you guys get a chance to enjoy, the history and stuff, in the feedback that I get, So I want to thank you all for that, you know what I'm saying? I really do, And you got some podcasts, they will say the same thing as I do, That's the real truth and stuff. But yeah, I know people ask me, man, you need to get into Janet Jackson. Listen, man. What God said it's going to happen, it's going to happen. So I can't wait for that. But anyway, but get back to what I was saying, as far as Peabo Bryson, Foster Sylvers, and Ronald LaPread, I hope BT Awards have a plan and pay homage to them the right way, man, for real. Because the tributes that was supposed to happen last year, that was terrible. And I said this a year ago, and half people on Instagram, man, they all over the daggone place, but that's a whole different story. What BT should have capitalized off of, when we lost all those legends last year, They should have did a 4-hour concert special. Nothing but all the legends, man. You know what I'm saying? Started from 7 o'clock, at least to 11, you know. Pay homage to Dwayne Wiggins, D'Angelo, uh, Angie Stone, you know what I'm saying? They did not benefit off of any of it, man. Terrible. But but they want to do an anniversary of 106 at Dale Park. I don't care about all that, man. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, you know, but hopefully BT do something, you know, to do the right way, you know what I'm saying? But we'll see, you know what I'm saying, about that, you know what I'm saying? Straight up, because I don't want to see no tributes in hip hop. I don't want to see none of that, man. You know what I'm saying? I want to see a tribute for R&B, these R&B legends, man. Straight up, you know, if you're gonna pick somebody, let it be a voice. I'm gonna tell you something though. Who could do a tribute to Peabo Bryson? And he's very underrated. Chris Walker. You know, Chris Walker, he may not be like nationally known, but he has a song called Love Tonight. Everybody got a voice out this world. So his voice tone is similar to his. So I like to see him. I like to see Glenn Jones pay homage to him, Kid Lattimore, you know, little stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Uh, I would love to see the Sylvers, man, you know, come on stage and sing, you know, Misdemeanor, you know what I'm saying? Or get some kid, you know, 12, 13 years old that sings high like Foster Sylvers did when he was a kid, you know what I'm saying? And do that. I can't think of no child, you know, that can sing like that. But yeah, we will see, you know what I'm saying, how that would turn out and everything. Uh let me see. As far as the Commodores, to pay homage to, you know, Ronald, I don't be surprised, you know, they might have a lot of Richie, you know what I'm saying, do it, you know. All the members of Commodores, you know, somebody, you know, so would do it. I can see, let me see, Eric Benet, let me see, Eric Benet, Johnny Gill, Jeffrey Osborne, you know, somebody that still got that voice, you know what I'm saying? So hopefully it's somebody that's mature and older that those R&B that would do it right. So we will see, you know, from there and everything, you know. But what I would say this though, you know, when it comes to, you know, music, you know, music is everything. Music is our soundtrack. You know, we got soundtrack that based off of time we was kids to where we are now. You know what I'm saying? And our soundtrack is like a billion songs that's in our head. You know, for us to go from CD Walkmans to CD players and everything, you name it. You know what I'm saying? Music is everything. Music is medicine. You know, whenever you know when people ask me about R&B, I break down the songs that impacted me as a kid. You know what I'm saying? Either about love or just overcoming things. You know what I'm saying? You know, and music is that message. That's what it's all about and everything. You know, so I hope some people out there fully, not all, but also people really fully understand that and everything. What she says, yeah, Chris Walker, he definitely be great. Yeah, because that brother's so underrated. He got that voice. And right now, he sung 2 songs of Peabo Bryson. I was like, man, and BT ass don't get themselves together. Come on, man. you know. Oh, I want to say this too, though. I see, BT hired Bob Johnson, Queen Latifah, and Ella Cool J as advisors, you know, as far as like giving BT a better direction. Yeah, we know it's not black owned and stuff, but hopefully this situation will help BT and make it better. You know what I'm saying? And what's so funny about the guy or the female, whoever this person is, owns BT, is a friend of Donald Trump's. And it's crazy. Like, how can you own a black owned company and you good friends with the orange man? Like, how you do that, man? That's like you being friends with the Ku Klux Klan or something, man. So hopefully that individual loses their job, and hopefully it's a black person down the road. You know what I'm saying? We will see. But I think it's a great look, for BT, trying to restart again, because BT definitely needs a restart, man. Back in the day, BT, uh, was that go-to company, man. You know what I'm saying? Growing up with Bob Johnson was running it. Because back then, we had Midnight Love, Video Vibrations, Video Soul, Planet Groove, Midnight Love, what's it, Know the Lyrics, BT, Common View, BT News. I mean, everything. I mean, BT was like our social media in those days. You know what I'm saying? And make you feel good about something. You know what I'm saying? It is crazy how it goes like that. Like when I was talking to Christian Keys, he said he had to pull his shows out of BT because the owner is good friends with Donald Trump. So I don't blame him, for that. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, it's crazy. But with that being said, I want to say thank you all for taking the time and chopping it up with me. And yeah, man, it's messed up. We lost three great, appointed public figures, and there's been so many that has passed away, and it's hard to get everybody at once and stuff, but rest in peace to, all the greats and stuff. But like I said, be on the lookout for Bounce Day this Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Be on the lookout for 470s Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Shirley Jones, Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So next week, be on the lookout. So your boy's going to be steamrolling through this whole month of June. And with that being said, I am out of here. Peace.